Hey everyone, I'm Abby Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare, and we will be reviewing Sarah's Day new wellness app, Sunee. Now, before we get too far into things, I want to chat about what I've been learning through my Skillshare membership while social distancing at home. Now, if you haven't heard of Skillshare, they're an online learning community with a wide range of amazing creative classes for exploring new skills, developing interests, and getting lost in your own creativity. I know a lot of people might be thinking about some ways to learn some new skills or diversify their careers, especially in these really uncertain COVID times. So as a creator, I've been taking Productivity for Creatives by YouTuber Thomas Frank. This has been so valuable for helping me to optimize my physical and digital workspace, coming up with templates to streamline my work, and figuring out when to delegate and when to collaborate. This course alone has actually made me a much stronger entrepreneur. So whether you're bored, need some extra self-care, or want to join a creative community while in isolation, Skillshare is a great resource during these times and of course beyond. And for my viewers and fans, the first 1,000 people to click the link will get a free trial of Skillshare's premium membership. And then after that, it's only around $10 a month. Also, you can pause the screen or look at the description to check out my disclaimer, including a trigger warning to those with current or previous experiences with disordered eating. I will be talking about calories and macros, so of course feel free to skip that portion or this video if it isn't supportive to your journey. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring that little bell so that you never miss out on a video. All right, friends, let's kick it off with a bit of a background on Sarah's Day. So Sarah is an Australian health and fitness influencer who I've actually reviewed in the past. So if you want to see that video, you can check it out right here. Now, in January 2020, Sarah launched a brand new app called Sunee, which combines tips for healthy eating, cooking, and naturopathic wellness from a nutritionist, naturopath, and from Sarah herself. Now, since the app came out, I have received a tsunami of DMs and comments asking me to review it, so I downloaded the app myself to give you my honest thoughts. Now, let's start with a general overview of what the app has to offer. So according to Sarah, the purpose of the app is to provide healthy recipes for a wide range of dietary needs like gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, low FODMAP, etc. So Sarah herself has discussed her own struggles with PCOS, food intolerances, and hormonal acne, and has testified herself that changing her diet has been paramount to her healing journey. So let's start by chatting about the section called the Healthy Plate, which was developed in partnership with a nutritionist, Dee Zibara. So Dee has an advanced diploma in nutritional medicine, but is not a registered dietitian, and actually nutritionist is not a regulated profession in Australia. But back to the Healthy Plate. This is essentially Sarah's rules for like portion sizes and building a balanced meal. Now, you all know how important balance is when it comes to healthy meals and snacks, so this part was particularly interesting to me. Now, according to Sunee, each meal should have 1 handful of greens, at least 1 handful of colorful fruits and veg, 1 handful of starchy carbs, 1 palm size of protein, and 3 fingers of good fats, and 1 thumb of superfood sprinkles, which include premium ingredients like maca, cacao powder, and acai powder, according to the smoothie section. So although Sarah is Australian, I compared these suggestions to the ones outlined in my National Food Guide, and all in all, I would say that the portions are pretty representative of the recommendations for healthy serving sizes that would help you meet your macro and micronutrient goals. So that's great. However, there are a few things that I definitely want to flag. First of all, I think you all know what I'm going to say about the superfood sprinkles thing. Probably not necessary if you're already getting a decent serving of both greens and colorful fruits and veg in your meal already. Not only do I think it's kind of unnecessary for most people following the other suggestions in this plan, but it also renders the diet pretty inaccessible to a lot of folks out there. More on that, of course, in a moment. Now, my other major issue with the diet recommendations is that they are made with the assumption that everyone is both gluten and dairy-free. So I know that Sarah preaches this way of eating because it has been helpful to her. However, if you don't have known intolerances, celiac, or allergies to dairy and gluten, you do not need to eliminate them from your diet. Next, we're going to put our dietitian hats on and take a closer look at the nutritional content of a couple of the recipes offered on Sunee. So let's begin with a savory one. One recipe that I saw online getting a lot of negative buzz was the avocado carbonara pasta. Now, unlike traditional carbonara pasta, which is obviously rich in both dairy and gluten, two no-nos in Sarah's books, Sarah's version uses buckwheat pasta, avocado, and nutritional yeast. Sounds great to me. After doing some quick nutrition calculations, you can see that one serving of Sunee's avocado carbonara clocks out at around 669 calories with 26 grams of protein, 77 grams of net carbs, 26 grams of fat, 5 grams of saturated fat, and over 1,000 milligrams of sodium. Now, if we compare this to a lightened up version from Stanford Healthcare's website that contains, the traditional cheese and the traditional wheat pasta, we will see Sarah's version has more than twice the calories, 4 times the fat, and twice the saturated fat, carbs, and salt. We are getting a little bit more protein and more healthy monounsaturated fats from the avocado, which are really important additions. So it's not like one recipe is necessarily good and the other one is bad. I say that both can be healthy choices depending on your nutritional goals and dietary preferences. Now let's take a look at one of Sunee's sweet treats. So I decided to zero in on Sarah's white chocolate cheesecake recipe, which is dairy-free, gluten-free, and totally vegan, versus a conventional white chocolate cheesecake recipe I found online. So Sarah's version has over 600 calories, 44 grams of carbs, 4.5 grams of fiber, 23 grams of sugar, and 46 grams of fat, 19 of which are saturated fat. Meanwhile, a slice of traditional gluten and dairy-filled white chocolate cheesecake contains around the same amount of carbs, sugar, and saturated fat, but almost half of the total fat and 150 fewer calories. Yes, you're getting a couple of grams more fiber and the ingredients may be less refined in Sarah's version, but I probably wouldn't rely on cheesecake to meet your fiber or your antioxidant goals anyways. Again, it really comes down to your own dietary needs and preferences. I mean, obviously if you're vegan and you're gluten-free, Sarah's recipe fits the bill. But at the end of the day, I kind of think that dessert is dessert. I love creating recipes that cater to different dietary limitations like plant-based or gluten-free, but these attributes don't necessarily make them healthier than the OG. In fact, if the healthified version is less satisfying and enjoyable to you, it may often lead you on what I call a flavor hunt, looking for what you actually crave. And the result is often overeating. So, there's a place for both of these as long as they're enjoyed. I say if you want cheesecake, have a cheesecake that you actually want to eat, savor it, and move on. Now let's dive into the naturopathic section of the app, which was created in partnership with the Australian naturopath Hayden Keys. In the app, Keys shares specific naturopathic medical advice related to very specific health ailments and conditions. So I did want to kind of fact check the evidence on a few random ones that popped up for me in the app. One of the first ones that I saw was about how to deal with always being cold. Now, the app suggests that this is typically due to poor circulation, which can be true, especially when we're talking about cold hands and feet. What's the app's solution? Well, just add some warming herbs like cinnamon and ginger to your diet. Okay, while we do have research to support cinnamon and ginger in improving arterial blood flow and circulation, this is largely being done on animals or in petri dishes, so we really have no quality evidence of its usefulness in real life. Now, Keys also suggests getting blood work done to rule out a thyroid diagnosis from your doctor. Yes, yes, and yes. While some of the naturopathic medical advice I found on the app felt a little random and maybe a little out of scope for an app like this, speaking to your doctor to rule out a deficiency or a health condition should probably have been suggestion numero excuse my French, not like just putting cinnamon in your oats or ginger in your tea. Now, there are also a number of conditions that Sunee doesn't even mention that could also result in feeling cold, like Raynaud's, atherosclerosis, and nerve damage. And we can't forget about the big one that I would expect potentially from Sarah's demographic, and that is undereating. One of the most common symptoms of disordered eating is feeling cold all the time. In fact, a study comparing a group of adults fed a calorie-restricted diet with another one on a typical diet found that the dieters had significantly lower body temperature. If someone is on an app designed by a wellness influencer and they're chronically cold, the risk for disordered eating should definitely be flagged. Another problematic example is around Sunee's suggestions on acid reflux. So first, Sunee instructs readers to cut out processed foods, refined foods, junk food, and fast food, and argues that gluten and dairy are other major triggers to omit. This, my friends, is what we call confirmation bias, and it is deeply ingrained in this app. First, the good. We do have research to suggest that for those who are sensitive, eating an excess of high-fat food, spicy food, chocolate, and alcohol can exacerbate acid reflux. Now, although there are studies suggesting that avoiding gluten has been proven to be helpful for people experiencing GERD, most of these studies are conducted on people with pre-existing celiac disease diagnoses who are medically instructed to avoid gluten anyways. In other words, this is not a recommendation for the masses. As for dairy, studies suggest that for folks without lactose intolerance, up to 3 servings of dairy per day does not appear to trigger reflux symptoms, even when we're looking at higher fat options. So again, assuming that you do not have a medical reason to avoid dairy or gluten, there's little reason that you should be cutting it out. In fact, while this way of eating seems to work for Sarah's needs, I might say that it's slightly irresponsible of Sarah to be putting her personal dietary restrictions onto others en masse when these intolerances are a very individual thing. Finally, Sunee's final suggestion for acid reflux is to consume chamomile, ginger, licorice, and marshmallow teas, all of which have been associated with reducing some digestive symptoms. However, what they don't tell you is that you'd probably need to consume a lot of it to get any kind of relief. For example, in the case of marshmallow tea, studies suggest that you would need like 2 spoonfuls of the stuff steeped in tea basically every time that you eat. Is it dangerous advice to drink tea? No, not at all. But if you're truly really suffering, you might also need pharmaceutical support, and again, should definitely be speaking to your doctor about what will work best for you. Finally, the last medical issue we'll be looking at on Sunee is the app's advice around treating an abscess. Seems like a pretty intense medical condition for a wellness app to be doling out advice for, but let's see what they say. For those of you who may not know what an abscess is, maybe put down your snack for a hot minute because I'm about to say a pretty gross word. In short, because you're gonna want me to keep this short, it's a concentrated deposit of pus that forms when there's an infection in the body. Pus. Ooh, that is definitely up there with moist in the top 10 worst words in the English language.
Oh my God, ew, David.
Anyway, Sunee's first suggestion is to up your intake of dietary zinc, as zinc helps to build up the body's defenses against infection. Now, it is true that zinc plays an important role in supporting the body's immune system. There's also research to suggest the success of utilizing certain metals as a strategy for inhibiting microbial growth in abscessed tissue. However, again, this research has been done on mice, which is just not a sufficient base for recommendations to the masses in my books. Not to mention, even if dietary zinc did play a clinical role in abscess reduction, how many pumpkin seeds or oysters would a girl need to eat to cure an infection? I mean, sounds like a pretty pricey endeavor to me. The next recommendation of said abscess reduction is to increase your intake of echinacea, as they suggest that echinacea can help boost the immune system. First of all, nothing you eat can boost your immune system, nor would you necessarily want it to, since an overactive immune system is just as dangerous as an underactive one. And while I get that a lot of us have accepted echinacea as an immune booster and have thought of that as a wellness fact, the reality is that the research looking at the relationship between echinacea and immunity is really spotty and also kind of mixed. A lot of information regarding dosage, potency, and long-term effects remain unknown, with some studies showing no impact of the herb at all, or even negative long-term effects on immune health. So yeah, not sure that one holds up. Lastly, Sunee advises readers to use burdock root, tea tree oil, and manuka honey to treat an abscess. Now, while burdock has been seen to have some positive antibacterial effects on blood in mice, there are not really any quality human studies out there that substantiate these wellness claims. In terms of tea tree oil, there was one study suggesting that applying the oil topically could help to decrease wound healing time in those with an abscess and infection. However, again, the sample size of the study was very small, so we would definitely need to see more quality evidence before making this the go-to treatment. Finally, manuka honey has definitely gained a lot of attention in the wellness community for its alleged positive role in wound healing. But again, we're talking petri dish research here, folks, not actual living, breathing humans. And while results from this kind of in vitro research is always super exciting, it is just a jumping off point for more quality trials and really should never be the basis of important medical advice for something as serious as a bacterial infection. While some home remedies like these may have a role in treating smaller abscesses, if that's the plural, they often do need specialized medical attention to be drained and treated with antibiotics. I don't know about you, but if I had a pocket of infected pus somewhere on my body, I would be getting that looked at ASAP, not smearing expensive honey all over it and throwing back handfuls of seeds. Next. So I just want to close off this section by acknowledging that, yeah, I might be a little salty and sassy here, but I don't have anything against functional medicine or naturopathics. I have worked with naturopaths personally and professionally, and I think that they can complement conventional medicine really, really well. And while I give Sarah a ton of credit for putting a disclaimer at the beginning of this section that, it's not intended to be medical advice and more so just suggestions for the purposes of well-being, I am pretty sure that any ER doctor would be horrified to see a patient present with an advanced stage abscess and infection who thought that putting some extra pecans on their salad would make it go away. So I would rather see this section removed, or at the very least whittled down to reflect conditions which we have more quality research to support nutrition intervention. I want to finish off by discussing one of the big criticisms of the app, its accessibility, or more accurately, its lack thereof. First and foremost, let's talk about the price. What's funny to me is that most of you who asked me to review this app didn't really care about my thoughts on the recipes or nutrition or even the naturopathic advice. It was actually the deep dent that it left in your bank account. I'm gonna be real with you guys. This app is pretty pricey for what you get. To break it down for you, it is $41.99 for 3 months, $64.99 for 6 months, or $104.99 for a year. Ouch, that's a lot. While you do get to download it for free from the App Store, the Healthy Plate, Pantry Staples, Cooking Basics, and Nourish Me features are all locked until you cough up the dough. As an entrepreneur myself, I fully appreciate the amount of work that likely went into creating this app. But I think at the very least, a free trial would have been nice. And even after that, I'm not sure that the value is there when we consider how this content compares to everything else that you can access online for free. At the end of the day though, I guess if you don't like the price, don't buy the app. But what bothers me more is the kind of ingredients you'll find under Sarah's pantry staples. So this section features a list of around 40 to 50 different items that Sarah suggests are necessary purchases, and most of them apparently need to be organic. Now, I've discussed my thoughts on organics in my Sorrel Amore video here, but in short, while organic foods do contain fewer synthetic pesticides and fertilizers and are free of hormones and antibiotics, the research suggests that they generally do not have any huge nutritional advantages over regular conventional foods. And the residue levels found on conventional foods are well within range for safe consumption. It's also still unclear if the pesticides that are used in organic farming are significantly safer than non-synthetic pesticides used in conventional farming. Honestly though, whether or not you choose organics is a totally personal choice. But I'm bringing this up because organic food is around 10 to 50% more expensive than conventional food, which again adds an element of exclusivity to this app. So if it comes down to eating enough fruits and vegetables or eating less but choosing organic, especially if you're already kind of in debt from downloading this app, I say your priority should be to eat enough, period. Quantity in this case is definitely more important to me than the organic label. My second issue with the pantry staple section are the amount of wellness type products that have been categorized as staples, insinuating that these are foods that you absolutely must eat for good health. For example, this list includes ingredients like agave nectar, apple cider vinegar, buckwheat flour, coconut sugar, bone broth concentrate, cold pressed hemp seed oil, raw honey, cacao powder, and pink Himalayan sea salt. All of these are healthy foods, absolutely, and all great, nice to have additions. But even implicitly suggesting that these are essential for good health is kind of off-putting to me. I think it's fair to say that most people either can't afford all of these specialty ingredients on a regular basis, or they live in regions without physical access to specialty food shops that are required to purchase them. And like I said earlier, if you're eating a general balanced diet with adequate fruits and vegetables, as this app also suggests, the need for organic pink Himalayan sea salt is very quickly rendered obsolete. After doing some quick and dirty math, I calculated that the cost of a 1-year subscription plus purchasing just some of these specialty pantry items would put you back about $300 to $400 per year. And that doesn't even touch your actual groceries and meals. This is just not realistic. I hate that people would download the app, shell out their cash on getting past the paywall, only to be faced with the false realization that healthy living is only for the rich. The goal should be to inspire as many people as possible to make healthier choices regardless of their budget, while also acknowledging that, of course, socioeconomics present significant inequalities to people's access to good health. So while I acknowledge that accessing individualized care is a privileged opportunity, hence why so many people turn to YouTubers and influencers and apps, you might be better off investing that money in speaking to a registered dietitian or another certified healthcare practitioner who can really help you make an individualized wellness plan that you can stick to and can afford long term. So here are my final thoughts on the Sunee app, summarized as some little quick and dirty pros and cons, because your girl loves a snappy little list. Pros: it's a convenient place to find nutritious recipes in one spot. It offers reasonable suggestions on portion sizes, and it may be a helpful resource regarding cooking substitutions for those with gluten and dairy restrictions. Cons: it offers some misleading nutrition advice. It shares some far-fetched medical counseling that feels a little out of scope. And it paints an elitist view of healthy eating rooted in privileged wellness culture. All of that being said, if the app's content appeals to you, offers helpful recommendations that work for you and your lifestyle, and is within budget, then by all means, it's probably a really good buy for you. The beautiful thing about the internet today is that there is really something for everyone. But I did just want to make everyone aware of what they're getting themselves into before they hit subscribe. And that's all. I hope this video was useful to help you make an informed decision about whether or not to purchase the Sunee app. Thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If you liked it, be sure to give it the thumbs up. Leave me a comment below on what you'd like to see me review next. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye!